And good morning at 7:04 on this Monday, April 1st. It's time to head to Studio B for Coleman and Company.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. Here we are on a Monday morning, a little bit cloudy and overcast. Looks like it might rain, but we'll see. We are glad to have you with us and glad to be on the air for Absolute Kubota, 1506 West Main and Lebanon. Matt Bryson is here this morning. Matt, good morning to you.
Good morning, Coleman.
Nice to see you, and you're glad that spring is here.
I sure am. As we were talking just a minute ago before we came on air, you know, springtime here in Tennessee is always an exciting time for us at Absolute Kubota. It seems to be when we're probably the busiest, and so I like being busy and kind of getting past those winter months.
Yeah, let's go back to the beginning. How long you been in business at Absolute Kubota?
So this is actually our 10th year. Mm-hmm. We started in January of 2014. And so this year we'll be celebrating our 10th year anniversary. And
how did this come about?
You know, it's interesting, too, Coleman. I actually, as you know, I was in the landscaping business. I had a Main Street Landscape Company here in Lebanon. And around 2013, I had been working with a guy out of Nashville on the Exmark side. And he came to me in, I think, around November of 2013 and said, hey, I think Exmark, the product line, is going to come available in Lebanon. Would you be interested in opening up a dealership? And I said, I really don't know anything about it, but I'll give it a try. And so, that was in the fall of 2012. So in 2013, we ran the Exmark dealership along with the landscape company. It about killed me. But sometime around August or September of that year, Philip Etherly and I started having some conversations about maybe the Kubota line becoming available. And so in January of 2014, we joined forces, and we had the Kubota line and the Exmark line together. And here we are 10 years later.
What are you doing these days? I mean, you're with Absolute Kubota, obviously, but that's not all you're doing, is it?
It's not, Coleman. I mean, we do have a store over in Gallatin, and then we at one time I had a store in Murfreesboro, and then also a store in Lewisburg, Tennessee, and around the end of 2020. We sold those two locations to a gentleman that had been working with us for quite some time. So I still work with him some, and kind of split my time between Lebanon and Gallatin.
Well, what's the word today?
You know, Coleman, this time of the year, as our weather's starting to warm up, we're getting a lot of our customers that are coming in looking for those good quality lawnmowers. We sell, the Kubota brand, which is a great brand. We also sell Exmark, which is another really strong commercial brand. And then we have a product called Hustler. We don't talk about here a lot, but it's another product that we picked up a couple of years ago. And so this is the time of the year, and predominantly all three of our brands are running some really strong promotional financing. They've got good cash rebates. So, with interest rates kind of still being maybe 6-7% or so, we do have interest rates in that 0% offering still. So really just a good time to be shopping if you're looking for a new lawnmower.
Do you feel like your previous experience in the landscape business propelled you forward to do what you're doing?
It did. On the Exmark side, when I got out of the landscape business, we were operating about 20 to 25 Exmarks, and so I was real familiar with the brand. I'd been in that business since I'd gotten out of college, so just had a lot of experience doing it. And so, yes, when a customer comes in, usually the first question we're going to ask you is, how many acres are you mowing? Mm-hmm. And because we can pretty much put you in a product that should last you 15 to 20 years if you buy the right machine the first time. And that's always our goal.
Well, you did say goodbye to Don Hamlet last Thursday. We said goodbye to him here last Monday, and he's done the commercial for the most part for several years here. Yeah. You're going to miss him.
We sure are. Don was with me 9 out of the 10 years, and Don just had a great reputation on the sales side for us at Absolute Kubota, and we certainly wish him well. And I'm sure Don's listening this morning, but I know he's probably not not normally he's up and going. I'm sure he's going to take a little bit more time to do that today.
Well, he came up with the expression, everything from weed eaters to hay balers, which you have at Absolute Kubota.
We do. And Coleman, one thing I'd like to add to that we probably don't talk enough about here is our rental lineup. We do have a strong rental presence now, especially on the construction equipment side, mini excavators, mini skid steers, skid loaders. And then on the landscape contractor side, we operate, we rent the zero-turn mowers, all the professional equipment that those guys use. So if you're in that market and looking for something, we definitely try to make that process easy.
Well, you'll find a wealth of information at their website, www.absolutekubota.com. You can reach them by phone, 615-449-6171. And you are open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays 8 to noon, I believe.
That is correct. Yeah. And so we're pretty active with that right now.
Well, thanks so much for being with us, Matt, and I guess we'll see you next Monday.
Thank you, Coleman.
All right. We are 10 minutes after the hour, and we have State Representative Clark Boyd, who is, we'll say, graced us with his presence this morning, as he does on alternate Mondays during the legislative session. Clark, good morning.
Good morning, Coleman.
Nice to see you again, and you look like you're ready to go work out again.
I'm going to go to the gym and then run a couple of miles, I think.
Well, I've kind of insisted, maybe the last two times you've been out here, there's some particular things wanted to talk about, one being the school thing. But this morning, I'm not even going to bring up a subject. I'm going to say, Clark, what do you want to talk about? Tell us what you think we need to hear.
Well, I just was looking. Usually you have my weekly wrap printed off, and I realized that we didn't send that out last week. My assistant was off on Friday because it was Good Friday, and I guess we didn't send it out, so we probably need to get that put out this week. I've got a few things that we voted on last week, but there's a couple of things I'd like to talk about, and so before we go to commercial break, let me hit on a couple of just small things that they're not small, but it won't require a lot of explanation. The governor's budget did come out, the budget amendment. It's a $52.78 billion budget. A couple of things that we have voted on recently that I think are important. Last year we funded school resource officers for every public school in the state of Tennessee. Right. Even if you already had one, we gave you the money for it. Well, it turns out that some of these counties are having a difficult time staffing those positions. And so we are giving kind of, for lack of a better word, emergency authorization for certain licensed peace officers or police officers to stay retired if they're retired in the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System, but allow them to go back to work to fill some of these vacancies. It's not a permanent thing, but we're trying to get those positions filled because we've got the money there for them to do that. So we've done that.
You feel that it's needed that much?
We have to do that and to get it, because right now some of these rural counties, they just don't have the deputies for it. And after COVID-19 and then a lot of it's unfortunate, but a lot of just the backlash and treatment of law enforcement across the country, a lot of folks that had their 30 years or 25, whatever it was, they've opted to retire. So this would give them a chance to come back, fill those positions, but continue drawing their retirement. And so we won't do that forever, but it's something that's necessary now to kind of bridge that gap. We've made it a Class C felony for a threat of mass violence against a school. So that's something that people need to be aware of, even if they're prank calling or something. I mean, there's some jail time that's going to come with that now, and so we're stepping that up. And then we've got a big thing that's going to be discussed this week in the Finance Committee. And I know it's usually about break time, but I'll get started on it. You just cut me off when you're ready. But sometime between when we finished session last year and this year, several companies hired an attorney, and they are basically demanding a refund of their franchise tax that they have paid. And you may have heard something about this. And it has really kind of spooked our governor and the Commissioner of Finance and Administration. And so they're in our opinion, and I'm speaking as a House member, overreacting. They are wanting to refund everyone that has paid the franchise tax a 3-year refund. And so like I said, a bit of an overreaction there, because I'm not sure that every company would have standing to sue. And so what seems to be the main issue here is the dormant commerce clause, which is kind of affects interstate commerce and says that a state can't do something that would preferentially treat a business located in one state versus another. And they've given some examples of and it would be very unique how a company would have to file. They would have to have business here, business in another state, file the franchise tax, file it in a way that they use the property rather than the total assets type of calculation for this to be the case. But there have been some lawsuits in other states that have said, yeah, this type of tax probably is unconstitutional. So our solution is to correct the tax so that it no longer takes into effect the property, take that filing away, and that would be about a $400 million tax cut. I am supportive of that. I'm always supportive of cutting taxes, but I don't think we need to refund everyone for fear of a lawsuit, because I'm not sure that every filer would even be eligible for this lawsuit, that they would have standing in it if they didn't file a certain way. The other thing is a lot of them aren't asking for a refund, and then there have been some companies that have come, and this is really weird that they say this, they actually want to stay under the old system and want us to do a carve out for them so that we don't repeal the tax on them. I mean, it's gotten really bizarre, but that's going to be litigated this week in Finance Full, and I can give a few more numbers on that.
Okay, let's take a break right here. State Representative Clark Boyd is with us. We've got more, so we hope you'll keep it right here, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to our friends at Absolute Kubota, premium brands require premium parts and service. Contact Absolute Kubota's Elite Certified Service Department to schedule an appointment. 615-449-6171. Now in traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. They did manage to move that stalled vehicle out of there on 24 westbound at OHB in the Antioch area. It did interrupt that traffic flow, however, that's coming in from Murfreesboro, Rutherford County through Antioch. Again, just be careful up through there. It's starting to really get crowded. It's also busy westbound, Vietnam Vets at Conference Drive. You still got a lot of traffic making its way through Hendersonville. Here comes that traffic through Hermitage in from Wilson County on 40 going westbound, especially leaving the Mount Juliet area. 24/7 reliable crane and rigging services here in Middle Tennessee. Tomahawk Crane and Rigging. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Gregory Dental Group in Lebanon is in a new location, 1746 West Main in Lebanon, across from Sports Village. Gregory Dental Group offers cosmetic procedures, dental implant services, and digital dentures. Premium dentures in just 2 appointments.
Hi, I'm Dr. Derek Gregory. In my office, you can count on a compassionate staff who will truly listen to you, take the time to get to know you, and discuss your personal needs.
No insurance? No problem. Call about the discount plan. Gregory Dental Group, 444-0322.
We continue here on a Monday morning. Thanks for joining us. State Representative Clark Boyd is here, so let's pick it back up here. Franchise tax, excise tax.
Yeah, so the franchise tax, and so this is something that the governor is just really passionate about, and I think in his mind he feels like morally we have taken someone's money that we shouldn't have, and it needs to be refunded. But this tax has been in place like 90 years, and folks have been paying it. So I believe in a repeal of the tax or an adjustment to how we calculate it so that it doesn't violate the dormant commerce clause. But there are a lot of us in the House that are saying, we might owe some people a refund back, but let's be reasonable about this, because what they're wanting to refund is about $1.5 billion. And then every time the Finance and Administration Commissioner comes and talks to us, it seems to creep up a little bit more. And I think their concern is that if we go to court, if there is a lawsuit, everyone will get in on it and we'll have attorney's fees, and that it could be much larger. And so some of the solutions that we're working out in the House is to say, okay, well, let's figure out exactly who would have had standing if they were going to join in some sort of lawsuit. Who would actually have standing? Mm-hmm. What are they owed back? And then the other thing is, okay, well, let's let's give them a 1-year refund instead of a 3-year refund. Let's narrow the number of people that are getting it. Let's bring it down to 1, or let's wait and see who requests a refund. Give them a certain line in the sand and say you can request a refund by this date, but you can't sue if you accept the refund. And then some of it, there's some transparency requirements we're putting on there, because if some of these companies, Coleman, if they've taken a lot of Tennessee dollars to come here through ECD, taking a lot of grants, and then they turn around and sue the state that gave them those grants, literally biting the hand that feeds them, the public needs to know about that. And so there's several ideas that are being floated there. The Senate seems to just want to go along with what the governor wants to do, and the House. The example that I heard, and I thought was a great example, is the member that's kind of leading the charge. He said it's like we're punting on the third down, and that's a pretty good way of looking at it. And so I hope that we continue to push back on this and say let's thin this out a little bit and see who's actually owed a refund here, and then let's wait and see if they want a refund. And if they do want a refund, let's make sure that we put some transparency on it if they've in fact taken other state dollars. But then I mentioned a moment ago, and you'd asked about this when we were on the break, that some companies don't want this. Yeah, a company came in to see me, and they said, we need a carve out for this. And I said, why? And they said, because we have some tax credits. And I said, so you don't, I said, how do those work? And they said, well, we apply those against the franchise tax, and it's good for 10 years. And I said, okay. So I said, you want me to not repeal a tax so that you can pay the tax, but you're not going to pay the tax because you're using credits to not pay the tax. I said, you want to use your coupons to not pay a tax that I'm wanting to repeal so you don't have to pay anyways. And they said, yes, basically. And I said, why? And they said, because those credits are listed as an asset on our books. And so when a company, whether it be a venture capital company or whether they need financing, when they go somewhere and someone looks at the size of their company and the assets that they have, if those just vanished overnight, it would look like their company had dropped in value. And so this would only be for a certain period of time. Then they would transition over to the new way of doing the tax. So I wish I knew more about this, Coleman. I learned about this year. It's interesting the things that you learn about in the legislature that you would normally not have anything to do with. I'm not a CPA, but this has been real interesting.
Well, one thing I'm wondering about, when this is settled, how is it going to affect us for the future, and to how adversely is it going to be?
My understanding is it's going to there'll be less revenue brought in because of this. You'll still have the excise tax, and there'll still be a type of franchise tax that'll just be different how it's formulated. But I mean, but we won't have as much in. We won't have as much coming in from this. That's right. Yeah.
So,
but if it's unconstitutional, right. I mean, we don't need to be doing it. Yeah.
But we need to make up for it some way. Or maybe the sales
Probably.
tax.
I think the sales tax that when the finance commissioner and the finance administration commissioner and revenue, when they come in and talk to us, the illustrations that they're seeing seem to think that things are going to pick back up in 26. And so I think we've got a lot of money in our rainy day fund, and I think that things will pick back up. I mean, people are moving into this state. We are largely a sales tax, consumption tax-based state, and people keep buying stuff.
You're not pushing the panic button in any way here, then it sounds like.
I don't think we need to. I just think that again, I'd probably repeat myself, but companies have paid this tax since the early 20th century. They've known about this. No one has ever complained about it. This is a couple of companies and an attorney in another state that said, hey, there was a lawsuit in Maryland or Pennsylvania. I bet you could sue the state of Tennessee, and get it back. And so they're just kind of testing the waters to see what we do. And I think that there's so many companies that have come to the state that want to do business here, that have taken in tax incentive dollars. I just don't know. I don't think that there's a lot of them that would. I mean, some of them are certainly going to file for their refund if they're eligible for it, but I'm not sure that all of them will. And I just think we need to be cautious about this. I don't think we need to give away $1.5 billion to people that aren't asking for it. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
So this week, most of our House floor time was taken up by the vacating of the Tennessee State University Board of Directors. And so I'd like to address that. So that was something that had to be done. We had last year given $250 million additional to Tennessee State University. And that was because, an audit had found that they had been underfunded historically. I don't mean like in the last year or so. I mean, going back to the last 50 years or so, they have not been funded properly. And Coleman, I can believe that. I mean, that's not unreasonable to think that going back into the Jim Crow time of the southern part of the United States, that previous administrations and previous General Assemblies would have underfunded Tennessee State University. And we recognize that. And so we're trying to make that right. I mean, we've, that was brought to our attention, and immediately they said, okay, this year we've got some money. Let's give them $250 million. One audit said that we owed them about $500 million total. And then there was another one that went way back. I mean, I think almost the entire century of the 20th century that said it was like $2 billion or something. And so we started that process, and then when they got the money, they just didn't spend it wisely. And then every public entity in the state of Tennessee is subject to audits by our comptroller. It's Jason Mumpower. And when they were audited, the audits were just terrible. I mean, you heard about the kids that didn't have housing. I mean, that they're, they show up to go to school thinking they have housing and they don't, and, just staying in hotels. And so they didn't follow federal guidelines for higher ed emergency relief funds that came in during COVID-19. The financial aid office did not reconcile the direct loans as required by federal law. They didn't have procedures to refund Title IX credits, and they didn't report accurate information on the Pell Grant and the loans that were coming in. So they're violating federal guidelines and federal law. And then when the state was requesting additional audit information, they weren't supplying it, and it just became apparent that the president needed to go, and the board of directors wouldn't comply, and so that's their prerogative. And I don't know what it's like to be a board member of a university. I mean, I don't know if you're involved in day-to-day things or if it's a rubber stamp. But that was one of the options that was on the table. Is I think you need new management. We owe it to the student body. We owe it to the taxpayers of Tennessee. And so Glenda Glover is leaving. And so we finally just decided that there had to be a new board of directors appointed. And so we vacated that board.
This is pretty much a clean sweep.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, later that day, the governor put a new board of directors in. It's not the first time this has happened. It's happened at other universities over the years, but I felt like there was a lot of theatrics on the floor where everyone acted like it was only being done because it was a historically black college and university. And that's not the case at all. It happens everywhere. But I mean, when you have these type of audit findings, something has to be done. And I think if this board of directors and the president had complied and worked to remedy some of these things, but I mean, like I said, I mean that they're accountable for those dollars, and there are students that we are accountable to as well. I mean, the university. We have an obligation to make sure that all of our public institutions are managed properly, and we owe it to the students, to the parents of those students, to the taxpayers, and just the residents of the state.
You feel good about the future now that we've done this?
I think so. I think they'll get somebody in there. I think that this new board of directors will get in there, and they'll find somebody that's a problem solver, and we'll get in there and get these issues straightened out, and we'll be back to it'll be a great college, great university, and yeah.
And still have the A&I band.
That's right.
2 minutes.
Yeah. And so, to give you just on this a little bit more, they are a land grant university. And so I don't think a lot of people realize that, because in Tennessee, we think of the University of Tennessee as being that. And they are. And so there have been different things in the past that they are funded per student, probably higher than most of our locally governed institutions, which are like the Middle Tennessee, ETSU, Austin P. But they weren't funded quite like UT, and that's I guess it's by law based on the Second Mayoral Act of 1890. they're supposed to be funded at the same level. And, of course, UT has multiple campuses and all these things going on. And so looking back, that's probably how the funding got higher there than it is at TSU. But we've got to get that straightened out. And so we will refund more money to them. But there's a lot of to get off of the TSU thing, we've got other bills coming down the pike, and so I'm carrying a pretty heavy bill right now. It's called the Certificate of Need Reform Bill is what we're calling it, and that's dealing with. I could probably give you more of an update next time I come in, but that is dealing with how hospitals and medical service providers in our state, how they get the license or what has historically been the certificate of need to open up shop. And so we're doing a major overhaul of that in the state, and I'm carrying that bill, and it's moving through the health committee right now.
Okay, well, we have come to the end of our time here this morning. It's flown by. But State Representative Clark Boyd, thank you so much. See you in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Coleman.
That is part one of Coleman and Company. We've got more, so please keep it here, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Want to thank our friends at Beats Ford and the Works Vehicle Checkup. They'll make sure your vehicle is ready for any road. And it costs $59.95, up to 5 quarts of oil, tax and disposal, tire rotation, and safety check. 1780 Franklin Road. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. TDOT was out there trying to remove some debris 65 southbound near Dickerson Pike just a few minutes ago. It remains pretty heavy now on 24 westbound up through the Antioch area. Still coming in right now from Murfreesboro, Rutherford County towards Nashville. It's quite busy up through there. Same thing westbound Vietnam Vets out of Hendersonville towards Conference Drive. Radar earlier in parts of Wilson and Smith County. Be careful. Hey, Princess Hot Chicken has new items on their brand new menu. Check it out today at princesshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
When it's more than just your lawn, it deserves the Kubota Z400. Get a head-turning offer on class-leading speed, agility, simple deck height adjustments, and a quality cut. When you need comfort and performance, then you need the professional-grade Kubota Z400. Right now, get the Kubota Z400 mower for 0 down, 0% APR for 48 months, or save $300. Now through March 31st. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Absolute Kubota, 1506 West Main, Lebanon. An increasing chance of showers and storms as we go through today. Otherwise, mostly cloudy skies that high near 80. Southwest winds could gust up to 25 miles per hour. There's a 60% chance of showers and storms tonight, mainly after midnight, down to about 61. This weather forecast is brought to you by Walker Auction and Realty, professional auction and real estate services. Get top dollar for your home, land, or personal property. Log on to MikeWalkerAuctions.com. They know auctions. That's a look at your forecast. I'm Stormy Clausen.
We continue here on this Monday morning. It's time now to talk about the Farm Bureau Expo Center. As you know, Gail Helen is the Director of Marketing and Events, and she is here most Mondays to talk about the latest. She's not able to be with us this morning, and I have asked MJ to come in and help me talk about the Farm Bureau Expo Center. And not only do they advertise on my program, they advertise on yours as well, right?
They do. And since Gail has made this public, I think we need to take a minute.
All right. Go right ahead.
Gail texted you and I this morning, right, and she lost her son in a motorcycle accident yesterday. And so we want to think about her. We're sending her love and prayers. Her son's name was Wade. Wade has a family, and we want to keep them in our prayers and send lots of love to Gail.
Do you know anything about where this happened, or? I
don't know anything at this moment.
I guess you don't know much more than I know. We just got a text from her wondering about doing the commercial. She was concerned about the commercial here enough to...
That says a lot about Gail, for sure.
Yes, it does. The Wilson County... the Farm Bureau Expo Center at the fairgrounds. It is rapidly building a reputation, being one of the most friendly venues throughout Tennessee and across the country, and we appreciate her using our airwaves here to help expose this wonderful facility to the world.
Exactly, and some of the events that are coming up, the Ag Hall of Fame is coming up tomorrow. They've got Books from Birth. That's going to be April 11th. They have Imagine Dance Competition competition April 5th through the 7th. And I want to let folks know for booking details or events to attend, they can visit farmbureauexpo.com. You can also check them out on Facebook at Farm Bureau Expo.
Well, there's a lot going on there. It seems like every weekend there's just car after car in that parking lot. I usually pass by there. And as we have seen, Gail is doing a fine job exposing what we have right here in the Farm Bureau Expo Center. And it's pretty hard to get a weekend time there. It's got to be, it's rare that a weekend's even available for the next 2 or 3 years.
And if you're having an event, it's really a beautiful property, not only the expo, but the Ag Center as well. But yes, Gail has done a great job. I know she's booking out 2 and 3 years. So she is keeping busy bringing some really wonderful events to Wilson County.
All right. Well, thank you, MJ.
Absolutely.
And that's it for the Farm Bureau Expo Center. Again, Gail Hallam, Director of Marketing and Events. And with that, let me say it's time to introduce Sheriff Robert Bryan, who is with us this morning. Sheriff, good morning to you.
Good morning, Coleman. How are we?
I'm doing well. Was it last time when you were here and I wasn't, and you talked about a visit to Texas, I think it was Texas, to the...
Well, yes. Judge Tatum was here the last time.
Right.
And we talked a little bit about it, and I'll be glad to talk to it a little bit about it today because it's a lot of people are interested in it. So
I was that program that day. I was where I could listen, and I thought it was just one of the great programs that we had. And he got to host it, but to hear you talk about all of that and to go see it firsthand. And you and I have talked about it and the problems that are presented by the lack of the policing at the border, the problems that it even brings to Tennessee, allows people to be here that shouldn't be, and things that you have to deal with. And that kind of says a lot about your concern of the situation.
Yes, and we have had them conversations several times out here on the radio station, and I got invited by Senator Bill Haggerty's office to, accompany him and a few, 3 other sheriffs and 2 mayors and 2 district attorneys from across the state to accompany him down there to Eagle Pass, Texas, just to see, because we talk about the problems it's causing here, and I just wanted to go see and what's going on down there, and we went down there, and I tell you what, it was very informative, and I can see why we're dealing with what we're dealing with today in Wilson County. We talk about border states. Texas is a border state. Arizona, they're border states but Tennessee's a border state also. Wilson County is a border state, a border county, because they're and let me say this. I got to say this up front. There's legal ways to come into this country, and I'm 100% for that, okay? That's what our country was built on. But in saying that, we have to control this, because there's there's illegals coming across, undocumented, just coming straight across, just coming straight across. And let me say one more thing. There's 150 different countries that they've intercepted trying to come across that border.
150.
Yes, when we're talking about Syrians, Lebanese, you name it, come, and a lot of these countries don't like the U.S. And you tell me that system ain't broke, I believe it's broke. And when I say border county, you look at Wilson County, just our jail, the number of illegals that are coming through into our judicial system and our jails is really affecting us. We've had, just like 2 weeks ago, we had a Chinese, an illegal Chinese come across where he come across the border, and all other nationalities come across, and they we don't know who's coming across. That's the problem. And they're coming across with drugs. They're coming across. These are the majority of them are 20 to 25-year-olds. So it's.
Well, I like to ask why occasionally. In fact, I ask why a lot. Why in the world, why in the name of common sense, are we allowing this? And the only answer I can come up is a political one. But what what's your opinion, or do you want to talk about that?
Well, the information I'm getting, again, I've spoken about this trip to different civic organizations across the county since I got back. I've got 2 more scheduled because people are interested. People are noticing what's going on, and they want to hear it. And yes, I believe it's a political issue, it seems, but it's affecting the whole country.
But Jeffrey, it seems so wrong. I mean, I know politics can get down and dirty, and we've all seen some of that, even occasionally. I'm sad to say on the local scene, although not like this. But to want to be in power so bad that you would allow something like this to happen, I mean that. To me, that's treasonous.
Well, you're taking the side of political issues above our safety of our country and citizens of this country, and again, like you said, it's wrong. But it's above my pay grade. We'll do everything on our end to stop the illegal activity these people are doing. But that's just a drop in the bucket, Coleman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's true. But when you think how it was before the current administration, to his credit, Donald Trump had just about shut the border down. We didn't have the problem was anywhere near this magnitude when he went out of office.
Well, they gave us figures while, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, they was averaging around 90,000, something like that, a year, which is pretty normal of people legally coming across. But that's not counting all the ones coming across illegally, okay? But it's more than, it's me. I'm talking about almost close to 1 million that's come across over the past several years. And it's wrong. And it's, when we talk about, they call it catch and release. And I thought that was when you fished, okay? You catch fish and release it, but they'll catch them, okay? And the Border Patrol, they've got the state police down there. They've got all these the National Guard. We've got National Guard people down there as we speak. I don't know if they're back yet, trying to help them secure that border because the governor of Texas has stood up and said, if the federal government ain't doing it, I'm going to do it. And he's getting pushed back from the federal government. There's a lawsuit right now over what he's doing. Yeah. And that, again, what's going on here? And, I sit there, I don't know how much time we got left. I could talk for this for an hour, but it's a problem. Human trafficking's going on, drug trafficking's coming up, all this fentanyl's coming across. That's where it's coming from. And I've told you before on this show that we know for a fact where it's coming from because we've confiscated a bunch of drugs that's come across that border.
How would you like to own a ranch, several hundred, a few thousand acres right there on the border, and have to deal with this?
We went to we actually visited one of them 5,000 acre ranches, and this ranch has been in his family for 4 or 5 generations. I mean, just a big, huge, just as far as you could see, land. And he run cattle and different things and farmed it. He can't do it no more because they're cutting across his property. And they're cutting across his property and they're ravaging.
Nothing he can really do about it.
Nothing he can do. I mean, they're breaking into his house. He said he woke up one night, his wife woke him up, and he went downstairs with his weapon and found 7 or 8 in his kitchen going through his refrigerator. And we went and we actually, and when I talk about human trafficking, it's sad because there's people getting killed, abused, just to get across the border, and the cartel, the Mexican cartels involved, got their hands all over this, and they're pushing it. They're very organized, and it's again something that we really need to address.
Well, I've I've wondered what would happen if we as a country went across the border and just wiped out the cartels.
It's above my pay grade.
Can't do that, but
above my pay grade. But it's what's another thing? They catch these individuals coming across, illegals coming across. The Mexican government won't take them back.
Yeah.
Now that's not right either.
No,
they're not working with us. So they should be held responsible for what they're doing because they're allowing this. And I don't know.
All right, Sheriff Robert Bryan is with us. We're going to talk about something else when we come back from the break, but it's an interesting. It's not something I relish talking about, but I appreciate you sharing all this with us. But we'll find out what else is going on in the Sheriff's Department after this break. Here on Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways thanks to Bates Ford and the low price tire guarantee on all tires every day. Up to 30 days after the sale, there'll be any competitor's pricing on the tires they sell. 1780 Franklin Road. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Here's what we see. Heavy traffic finally developing over here on 65 South at Trinity Lane. It's been busy, but it's moving fairly decent. Up to Antioch, coming in right now from Murfreesboro, Rutherford County on 24 going west towards Nashville. Also clearing up that earlier crash at Old Charlotte Pike at Grower Road out in the Bellevue area. 24/7 reliable crane and rigging services here in Middle Tennessee. It's Tomahawk Crane and Rigging. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Are you facing a challenging time that you need help navigating? Well, look no further than your local law firm of Kane and Crowell. At the offices of Kane and Crowell, we understand the complexities that come with family law matters. Whether you're going through a divorce, working through child custody or support matters, or needing a will or trust drafted to protect your family assets for future generations. Kane and Crowell, 615-784-4800. Your local leaders in family law matters.
And welcome to our final segment here for a Monday morning. And our thanks always, Sheriff Robert Bryan. Sheriff, it's, ever since you've been sheriff, you've been coming out here, and we just I never did have an assigned date for Terry Ash, but he just came when I would ask him. We decided right at the beginning we were going to set it's kind of set in stone for you. The only thing that isn't set in stone is whether it's 7 or 7:30.
That's right. Either one works for me, and and for the first Monday of every month. So
what else is going on now?
Well, we're right in the middle of our budget time at the office. The whole county, as far as the whole county, we'll be going to the budget process here. Actually, this month and next couple of months, get prepared for next year's budget, and we're staying busy on that. And there's about what.
Well, let me say this for you, sort of here, with inflation and with the growth that we're experiencing. You almost have to ask for more just about every year, I would think.
Yeah, and number one, we've got to take care of our employees. That's number one. You go to the store every day or go to the gas pumps every day. Everything's more expensive, and it's very important that we take care of our current employees and get them where they need to be as far as pay structure, and I think we're going to do that. I would hope, and it's but that's very important. Some of the other things, we just finished we're just about finished. The new jail is actually up and running. We're doing some reconstruction in the older part of the building, and it's time. We've said all along that we're going to need some personnel to run the entire part of the jail. So that'll be part of our needs this year, as well as a few other things within the department. But the main thing is employees, benefits and pay, and correctional officers and we would hope that we get what we asked for. So,
right. Well, how as far as equipment and in particular, I guess cars, vehicles it takes a lot of them for the sheriff's department to operate.
It does, and I heard maybe it was Mayor Jennings or Hutto one talk about it. This last month, they approved where we could buy about 40 cars, and we was originally going to do the conservative part of it. We was going to I don't know if that's conservative or not, but we was going to pay for them over a 4 or 5 year period, and we presented it to the commission, and they decided to pay for them right out, which is a good thing. That's more conservative, and it's Commissioner Chandler brought up that motion, and it was very positive. And the reason why we're doing it sounds like 40 cars, but if you think about it, over 4 or 5 years where we was going to pay for them, we was actually getting 9 or 10 cars per year, so it's probably a little less than what we was going to get over 4 or 5 years. But it over the past, you've talked to car dealerships at this table several times about getting vehicles on their lot. They just didn't have none. Well, we was dealing with the same thing. We couldn't get none, and we was running cars that had over 100,000 miles on them. And we still are to this day until we get this 40 influx in to replace some of them older cars. But what does that do? It really affects our maintenance budget when you're driving a car for 100,000, over 100. We got few cars, some cars with 200,000 miles on them, and that's because we take care of them. But in the end, it is costing us more to maintain them than it is to buy new ones. So with these new cars, it'll lower our maintenance budget, and we'll get better equipment out on the street.
How are you as far as other equipment goes? And other equipment means so much that most of us, I don't even know how to intelligently talk about it. I mean, everything from handcuffs to whatever, I guess. You stay with the latest as much as you can.
We try. We do our best. Okay, we put these deputies out on the street every day and risking their lives. Okay, we've got to give them the best equipment to do that job and keep them safe. And
firearms would be one.
Firearms, handcuffs, vest, just the cameras in the cars, just that, and how important they are. We went recently to the body cameras that other agencies have, and it's not only to protect. It's to protect the officers is what it is. We saw this deal happen up in East Tennessee where that officer got shot. That camera in that car and that audio and that video on body cam, told them who it was, and that's how important it is. But we've got to give them the right equipment. We got to keep them up to date on all training to keep them safe out here while they're protecting us. Okay, and because Coleman, I don't want to get that call where somebody's something's happened, and it scares me every day. I go to bed at night and pray for my guys and girls. So
and certainly if it was something that could have been avoided if you had the right equipment,
it could have. Yes, and it's but it's a dangerous world we're living in today. And anything
what about this concerns you? You're not totally responsible for it, but across the road from the sheriff's department, the Highland Heights Church of Christ property that the county, formerly, let's say, the county now owns, and big plans are being made for that. Where are we in that process?
I think we're going to hear something out of it over the next couple of months, is what I'm hearing. You'd have to ask Mayor Hutto about that. But in saying that, we actually have a big role in that building once it comes online, because we're responsible, the sheriff's office is responsible for all the security in all the courts. It's going to be a benefit for us, okay? Because the number of people that walk through the check stations, and we got two different buildings that we're responsible for securing, but the number of people that walk through the metal detectors, the safety points, it would astound you. Just coming in and doing business in there with the court system, whether it ain't all criminal. It's could be civil stuff, different things like that, and it's. But we play a big role, but it's going to be a benefit to us because everything's going to be in one building. Mm-hmm. It's probably going to take a few more personnel as it relates to security because it's such a big building. But it'll be a safer building, not only for the personnel that work in the building, but the people that's using it every day.
Where are we right now? It would still is this got to be approved by the county commission? Is that?
I'm pretty sure it went out for bid. The past couple of weeks, and then that number would have to be presented to the different committees of the commission and on to the full county commission at some point.
Oh, by the way, it just occurred to me, your mother had a birthday recently. Did she, Joyce?
Yep, and she sure did, and that was last Thursday, I believe it was. The 28th, and she I'm not going to tell you. Usually, she turns the numbers backwards. She couldn't do that this year, so that may tell you how old she is.
In other words, the first one and the second are the same.
She couldn't do that this year, but she called me and she said, "I can't do it this year, son."
Well, she is still going strong.
She is. I talked to her this weekend. And I'm thankful every day that she's doing stuff and out and about, and
I don't think I mentioned it last week, but I'll do it today since you're here. Happy belated birthday, Joyce Bryant.
That's right.
Well, how are you as far as hiring goes, and how are things in the jail as far as personnel?
So, as far as personnel, every time I come out here, we talk about. We're behind in corrections right now. We're 5 or 6 behind in corrections, which is better than we have been in a long time. As far as patrol and that part of the department, it's pretty much fully staffed. But it's gotten to the point where we're always looking for correctional officers, and we compare to other counties around us. It's not just us. Yeah. I think we're probably in better shape than some of the surrounding counties.
Well, if correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I've seen something on television warning people in the state prisons, and giving maybe a $5,000 starting bonus.
Right, and that's what we're competing with. Okay, yeah. That's what we're competing with. But in saying that, and working in state corrections, it's a different type job. I think you're more. They'll eat me alive. You might be a number, okay, instead of But in saying that, that's what we're competing with, and you got even Davidson County, one county over, their sheriff's office is offering the same type of incentive, and it's you got to do your best to stay ahead of that, and it's difficult sometimes.
But that can be quite costly. We fortunately haven't reached that point.
Well, yes, and I think the way a couple of counties are doing because they're so short-handed, the number of people that are short-handed, they're taking that money they're not spending that's already been budgeted and funding them type of incentives. Eventually, that would have to go away once they catch up. So it's very costly.
You're prominent in the Sheriff's Association. I think you've been president. You're not president anymore, are you?
No, I'm just on the board. Once you're president, you fall on to the board of directors of it.
I'm just wondering what it's like across the state of Tennessee. We know about the bigger counties, Davidson, Shelby, Knox, Hamilton, Chattanooga, whatever, but and we're one of the bigger counties. We've got a lot of smaller counties here. How would you rate overall the sheriff's departments of I think every county has a sheriff by Constitution.
There's 95 of us.
There are 95 sheriffs in Tennessee, and what are the problems pretty similar all over, or do some of the smaller ones have something that you hear all of this having been there?
Yes, and it's funny you say that. We go to the Sheriff's Association meetings every 3 months. And we'll be in the room, and we're all talking about the same type of problems we're having across the state. Now, some may be bigger than others. The bigger counties, we got a good tax base, great tax base here. But you go to some of these rural counties up in East Tennessee, and some right near us, their tax base ain't that good. And a while ago, Representative Boyd was talking about they're having problems funding these. Filling these SRO positions.
Yeah, right.
And we didn't have that problem, but some of these smaller counties did. And that's why they passed that legislation, because the Sheriff's Association was really pushing for that, just to help out these smaller counties. But it's very diverse across. But when you get in the same room, you got 95. Well, as many 95 in the same room, we're all talking about the same problems, pretty much. We know the same problems that we've been talking about on this radio station.
Well, one other thing I'll ask, we'll probably take up our time here. I'm just wondering about any legislation you are following that is either feel you good or bad that you want to talk about for a minute here.
Well, that one piece of legislation about the SROs, that's big. That's one we supported. And there's several about enhancing the penalties on different things. I believe he talked about school threats, enhancing the penalties on some of this juvenile crime that we're having. We're pushing them type of things, especially surrounding counties of Davis and Memphis, and Knox counties and Hamilton County, because a lot of the problems they're having in these bigger counties is coming over into like us. It's coming over into us. Mm-hmm. So, but it's just enhancing some of the same, and just holding people responsible for what they do, and because that hadn't been done as much as it should have been.
Well, with that, we will end our discussion this morning, but we appreciate your visit, and we'll see you on the first Monday in May. We didn't mention this, today is April 1st.
Fool's Day, and I'm dreading going to work because I don't know what they're going to do to me this morning.
But you're expecting some kind of April Fool's joke?
Something's going to happen. Yeah.
All right, well, that's going to do it. Sheriff Robert Bryan, thank you so much, and thank you for listening. I hope you'll join us tomorrow for Coleman and Company, and until then, I wish you a magnificent day.